So it was more crucial at that time to, to brought the Emancipation Manifesto. So before addressing my whole poster, I'd like to just have a quick look at my research question. That's how I will address my research poster that is correlated with my heading. So how the discrimination after emancipation led to the serious repercussions for the Tsar of Imperial Russia, and was the emancipation really responsible for the end of Imperial Russia? And what were the parallels between the Imperial Russia and the United States of America related to the slavery of serfs? So if I talk about the methodology, so qualitative research methodology have been applied to it, as I have been researching a lot about this, about the parallels, about the repercussions of the manifesto, about the repercussions of emancipation of serfs. So there are my objectives. It can, elaborate my poster. So let's have a quick review on it. The foremost intent of this research poster is to convey an analytical inspection of the repercussions of emancipation of serfs in Imperial Russia. It also comprehensively examines the repercussions and the aftermath situation of the emancipation of serfs, and furthermore, it will examine the balance between the United States of America, the great emancipator, the Abraham Lincoln, and the Alexander II, Tsar the Liberator, and later he was also called as the Tsar who was hunted, as he was assassinated. So if I talk about the conceptual analysis, so I have applied the theory imperialism because the serfdom was subjugated by the nobles and the Tsar. If we talk about the serfdom, so it dated back to the legal code of 1649. Like the nobles have the control over the serfdom. They were having overall authority over it, and they were bounded to them. Like even they were not able to move from one city to another city. So they were under their subjugation. They were like a slave. So now the findings. So if I address my first question, how the discrimination led to the rebellious attitude and the revolution after the emancipation of serfdom. So when the Emancipation Manifesto came, so there was a huge appraisal for Tsar the Alexander, like it's going to be kind of a very positive impact on the serfdom, on the slavery in Russia. But it turned out to be a betrayal for the Russian peasants. As some of those who have interest in Russian history, they all know about it. There was a lot of discrimination, like the inadequate lands were allotted to the peasants. And they were, if we talk about the redemption of taxes, there were huge taxes on the peasants rather than the nobles. And they were living under harsh conditions due to winter conditions, and they were not able to yield the crops in Russia. And there were a lot of discrimination which led to the revolution. The people built secret society, the radical group, which actually assassinated the Alexander II. And then later on, all radical groups led to the revolutions. We all know about Bolshevik revolutions, the Bolshevik revolution. Everyone in that group belongs to the peasantry, belongs to the serfdom. So the second question, which perhaps my most fascinating research, I was very fascinated when I researched about it, that what were exactly the repercussions of emancipation of serfs on Alexander II. So every Tsar of Russia was famous that they were fond of hunting. And what happened if you are hunting in the forest and later on you are being hunted in the St. Petersburg street? Like there were 7 murder attempts on Tsar Alexander II, and he escaped all of the attempts. And then when he was going from Kuchina Palace to Winter Palace, and then due to suicide bombing, he was assassinated. So there was some kind of assassination attempt. Once was he was like dining in, and there was kind of bomb inside the dining table. And when he went to Germany, and there was kind of assassination attack, and fortunately he escaped that event, the assassination attempt. And then there was another attempt in the St. Petersburg street where the most famous running, the zigzag running, was invented by Tsar Alexander, like how you can escape the gunshot. by doing a zigzag running. And then when, what happened, in 1881, he was going from the China Palace to Winter Palace, and he escaped the gunshot. And when he escaped the gunshot, and then he escaped a bomb attack. And then he was very, curiosity was in him, like, I want to see who actually did that. And when he came near to the carriage, suicide bombing occurred. And the most prominent thing and the most exciting thing is that was the first suicide bombing attack in history. The first suicide bombing occurred in Russia. Now I'll talk about the parallels between the American Tsar, because after the emancipation, Abraham Lincoln was being called as American Tsar. He was actually called as the Great Emancipator, and then the Tsar, the Liberator. So what were the parallels? Both were curious about that, like both brought up the idea of the emancipation of Serfs by the great Alexander and the proclamation of independence by the Abraham Lincoln. So what were the parallels between them? Both the societies, the American society and the Russian society, was indulged in kind of chaotic situation. There was kind of revolution, the secret societies, the people group, a lot of things were going on in Russia and the civil war in America. And you can see one picture, I have mentioned one picture. So that picture was published in London magazine in 1861, and I think the editor forgot to mention the notes of sources. So that was written that extreme means, like now what we assume Russia and America, like after the Cold War, the Iron Curtain, they are the enemy, there is no proximity between Russia and America, but this was extreme mean. Both countries there were a lot of proximity between both of them. Like both were having kind of diplomatic kind of letters, the encouraging letters, and how the scholars have stated that the salutations, the closing salutation was more warmer than diplomatic protocols. Like they were not kind of just the leaders, they were spirited leaders. And both had the same way. And how somehow the American novels, the kind of American literature, also kind of inspired the Russian novels, the Russian educated, those who were Slavophiles and those who were Westernizers, and in America there were the Confederates and the Union. So there was one novel, the Uncle Tom's Cabin. So that actually made a kind of westernizing and the liberal horizon on the way of the emancipation of Serfs. So people were so admired by that idea that they actually wanted to kind of ingredient, the kind of liberalizing ingredients in Russia, which led to the emancipation of Serfs. And there were a lot of things like both the countries were indulged in, even the squadron leaders, the Navy were, the waving the flags of Russia, and the American Navy were bringing the Russian squadron leaders were waving the flags of Russia. So there were kind of proximity between them. And then the one parallel between them is also that both have faced the assassination, that Abraham Lincoln was assassinated in 1865, I guess, and then Russian Tsar was assassinated at 1881. So these were kind of parallels between the American Tsar and Russian Alexander. The serfdom and slavery, both were actually interrelated to each other. And both decided the fate, like after the proclamation of independence, civil war was ended in America, and after the emancipation of serfs, the chaotic situation was never ended. Actually, it led the way of revolutions. So to conclude, I would say that actually the emancipation of serfs is not fully responsible for the for the mitigation of the global family, for the mitigation of mobility in Russia, and for the downfall of Romanov family in Imperial Russia, but it actually expedited the process downfall of Imperial Russia. So that was my poster presentation.
Thank you. Not bad. Good one.
It was amazing. It's really the performance.
Yeah.
Thank you. When they have
Oh yes, I'm good. I think one more, right? And library.
That's was excellent and also a very different and diversity topic
Yeah.
as well. Na? That is the
You
same.
captivated nicely.
But definitely
Yeah.
the view because from international relation to as a literature and philosophical aspects. Na?
Yeah.
She covered the philosophical aspects. That's very good. And historical.
You brought the similarities,
That's very good. And even at the same time, I always please mention the captions, references,
So
and
actually, there's one thing. The canvas of the poster is so short, so we are not able to put everything in line.
Okay, it's well.
We were able to see everything.
But you have given a very good references as well. That's a very good sign. That you have given a proper
Oh,
references.
I have
That's
to
very
go for
good.
training,
It's a
yeah.
very excellent overall.
Oh, I have to